All right, last video on my lecture, how to alleviate the symptoms of Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. I really hope I'm helping somebody out, but I also hope you're going to be careful with doing it yourself. Okay, stress. Very interesting. There are a lot of neurons around the gut. A lot. It's called the second nervous system for a good reason. A lot. Neurons are also one way. They're not both way at all. And once they looked closer, there was an amazing discovery, because you can think like, okay, maybe the brain like a remote controls all these movements in your gut, but it's actually 90% vice versa. 90% of all these neurons are feeding information to the brain itself, not the other way around. This means that it's a sense. It's a other sense. It's constantly telling your brain, hey, I'm fine, or no, I'm not fine. Something's really going wrong. If you don't have gut problems, just imagine how you feel when you have a stomach flu. I'm not talking about a little bit of a stomach problem. I'm talking about the flu in your stomach. At that moment, you're like, I can't believe people survive this. This is how bad you feel neurologically, just out of your gut flora and all the immune activation that goes on. This is many different links. We have immune cells that go from your gut flora and your lining. We have the vagus nerve. This is this nerve that I'm talking about. We also have other dopamine, serotonin, all these hormones, these brain hormones are actually produced in large amounts in your gut. Not called the second brain for nothing. I mean, this is very important. Serotonin, for instance, serotonin is your happy hormone or your anti-anxiety hormone. They give this in antidepressants. 90% of your body's serotonin is produced by gut lining cells, specific gut lining cells, in communication with healthy, if they're there, bacteria. It's incredible, right? This means that many neurological problems out there, from mild depression to severe things, probably have in part a big root cause in the gut and the gut flora. This is what science is slowly discovering now, and there's a lot of papers out there already. So start reading if you're a critic or your doctor, please, if you don't know these things yet. It's also been my personal experience with myself, with my anxiety, and with my clients. So it's very important to get that going if you're stressed. And you're stressed and you think maybe, God, I'm stressed. This is the problem for my gut. Now you're maybe thinking like, maybe my gut is causing me stress. What is it? Is it psychosomatic or somatopsychic? The answer is it's a vicious cycle. One is pushing the other, making the other worse, and that in turn makes that worse, and so on and so forth. This is a very difficult thing to comprehend, but once you start understanding, like, okay, so if I improve either of these things, I break this cycle. Yes, 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 this is true. I'm not saying if you have stress that you don't have to go search for the root cause of that stress, whether it's inside of you or outside of you. I'm saying that if you also have gut problems for a long time, it will make that stress worse, whatever the cause of that stress is. So you might want to start with something that's simpler, like improving your lifestyle. And maybe you get a little more energy and a more flexibility and a little less stress. And then you're like, you know what? Now I can quit my job, which I never liked anyway. Now I can do this or that. There are different ways of treating this, of looking at this. I want to tell you guys just a little bit of tips. Again, I can't give you the answer to stress. That would be incredible if I could, especially because it is pretty personalized. But many people who are watching there, this is a group I recognize by now in my clients as well. If they don't have any stress problems, and I'm talking about early life stress, mostly, they don't have that. They might have complaints with they're not eating the right thing, or they think they're eating the right thing and it's wrong. And I changed that and they improved tremendously. However, if they had early life stress, bad childhood, whatever trauma later in life or during that time, whatever deficiency of love, hugs, whatever you want to call it, things we needed in a childhood, they become what I would say stress sensitive, to keep it simple. These people usually, and these people includes myself, so please don't be offended, they usually don't recognize from themselves that they're stress sensitive, or if it's really bad, they're like, yeah, I think it more than the average person, but they don't know how stress sensitive because they've never known much else than being jumpy or having problems sleeping or just being tensed up in their neck and stuff like that. Now, for all these people out there, and this does have a link with your gut problems, not the only cause, but it does have a link, especially with irritable bowel. These are my personal tips if you want to start looking at something specifically psychological. Again, if you feel like you're not ready for it or not strong enough for it, you might want to try physical things first, food things, supplements. The omega-3 is a very good one in high doses against stress, especially anxiety. But once you're there, or you're already there, I would suggest might not want to do too much talking therapy. Very, very, very non-sensitive for me to say that. I just think that many people do years and years of superficial talking, and sometimes you just have to dig a little bit deeper. And then I would suggest doing neurolinguistic techniques. For instance, EMDR with the eyes. You had like a specific trauma, really, in my humble opinion, it works specific trauma, so you know what the trauma was, you know what caused it. It's maybe a single event or maybe one or two events. You have it clear in your mind. You want to get rid of it. This EMDR you do with your eyes. Many psychologists are already trained to do this, so look if you can find somebody for that. Hypnotherapy, I am very much in favor for. I would say one thing, hypnotherapy would be it. Not so much hypnotherapy as in going show hypnotherapy, going all the way down, just sitting back, finding somebody who can do this, people who are online who do this, very good at their jobs. You relax, close your eyes, you try to sense these things out more than just talking superficially. Bunch of questions, less questions, start feeling these things out, start getting rid of pent up anger, sadness that's usually underneath there, shame, stuff like that. You feel it out more than you talk about it. It's usually not a rational thing that's stuck in there, especially if you had like a bad childhood. That's not something you can rationalize away. It's something that's built into your subconscious, but you can reprogram that with these things. Then you also have something like expressive narrative writing. Then you write down, if you want to do it yourself, you can look this up. For 20 minutes, you write about an event. It's been studied with people with a first heart attack to see if they had less of a risk for a second heart attack, because that's usually the biggest risk. Well, you get it again. Huge difference. Beautiful study. Huge difference, like years of delay compared to the people who didn't do that writing assignment. One writing assignment, 20 minutes, incredible. This is if you have like a really scary, which usually is the case if you have a big heart attack. This is how much the body influences, of the mind influences the body. Reframers are something people are trained for to make you look a different thing. Psychotherapy, nothing wrong with it. Don't get me wrong. If the talking works, I'm just saying many people talk for years and they just, well, they don't really feel like it's getting out there. And last but not least, the most sensitive one, bonding exercises. This has something to do with oxytocin, if you know what this is. Oxytocin is a cuddle hormone, they also call it. This is what connects you to other people. It makes you trust people and feel safe, because we do, in fact, need each other to feel safe. We're programmed for it. We're not loners. We're not that kind of animal. There are animals out there who are really well by themselves. We are not. But yeah, the unsafe childhood, it's not that easy to trust people, and this will give your immune system and inflammation and also gut problems a heightened sense of alertness, and will make your immune system produce more inflammation, stuff like that. This is something you can work on. Just look up oxytocin exercises. This is like eye-to-eye contact exercises. This is going for a nice Christmas dinner. This is bonding with rebonding with your parents, maybe with your partner. All these things can help, especially if you had like a little problems with this in the beginning. These are just steps. I know that I can have an entire lecture on this. In fact, I'm going to produce one at the time of the recording. I don't have it up yet, but I will have it up soon enough, I hope. Depression and anxiety, and I'm going to talk a little bit deeper about these things, but these are my best practices. All right, summary. An adapted paleo version, adapted to you, and specifically also the paleo diet itself is not, if you look it up, correct anymore. I would say it's just like it's old data now, especially this mammalian meats and stuff like that. Certain fats, maybe too little, too much. Digestive problem, but you can have a good idea of what direction I'm going for. Digestive problems, at least 50% of all my clients have this, amongst other problems, so might be good to change your diet, might not be ready for it. So digestive problems. The gut health, make sure you have few pathogens, and then make sure you have a healthier flora, because else these pathogens will return. I see it all the time, and it is horrible. Then you have antibiotics to get rid of some parasite, and then a week later it's back if you don't put something else to guard yourself against those things. And with something else, I mean healthy bacteria. Difficult to do yourself, gotta be honest. And then stress. I hope my tips will stimulate some of you out there to be like, hey, maybe I am doing this too much, this talking too long. Maybe I can give it a shot to dig deeper. If that is a problem, many of my clients had no stress problems at all, still had these gut problems for all the other reasons, but especially with irritable bowel, stress does play a factor, not the only one. Think outside the box. This is my tips for everyone. Every lecture I will finish with this, because this works for everything, and this comes from my own personal experience of years of health problems, and I see that it works for many of my clients, but it's difficult to get started with this. Think outside the box. I'm not saying go alternative all the way. I'm just saying think that there's more out there, more causes at once that create diseases, much more. Never one cause. It can only be like, okay, it was 50% stress or very much stress related, and then still a little bit food. Don't do things perfectly, especially if you're really searching for an answer. I understand you. You want to do something 100%. You want to get rid of these problems. You might have anxiety as well, which is really like a stimulus to do everything right away. You trust people blindly and you go for it, but it's not necessary to do things 100%. You will lose too much of your focus and energy if you do one thing, and then you will neglect the other things. So try to do it 80%, unless you have specific things like dairy and gluten. You might want to do that 100%, but the rest, don't do things perfectly. Just overall put your focus on all these different things. Think broad, try them out, and here it comes. If it works for you, it works. There's no medicine, no doctor, no diagnosis, no test out there that is better than I'm doing this and I feel good with it. That's the ultimate test and result. It's always trial and error. So if it works, also in part works, keep it in there. A lot of clients come to me like, yeah, I did this dairy-free. It worked a little bit, but not enough. And yeah, now I'm back on dairy. No. leave it out and go for the next step. All right. Oh, my face is probably in the way, but if you want to check out some of the the literature I've used for this, and you want to check out if I'm, telling something that's based on science, but you can also email me. Thank you so much for your attention. My name is Jerome Verbeek. If you do want to have a consult with me, you can book it in. Doesn't matter where you are in the world. We can do it via video calls. You can go to my website. We can even do like a half-hour introduction. If I have the time in my agenda, I can do it and we can look at it. If not, find somebody who knows about these things. Hope you will get progress. Good health and happiness to you.